Hello guys, so now we shall be discussing regarding the cochlear nerve. Okay, so in the previous videos we have discussed regarding the vestibular nerve, so here we shall be discussing regarding the cochlear nerve. So our topic of discussion would be regarding the cochlear nerve. So your vestibulocochlear nerve is your 8th pair of cranial nerve, right? So within this, now what is this cochlear nerve? Now here you can see that this is external auditory meatus. EAM in the sense external auditory meatus, and this part over here is your tympanic membrane. This is your tympanic membrane. Okay, after this you have got three important parts. One is called as malleus, another one is called as incus, another one is called as stapes, and this inner part is called as your cochlea, right? So it is having three semicircular canals. So this is the inner ear. Inner ear is having your cochlea as well as these three semicircular canals. Now what I am doing here is that whenever you are listening to any voice, right, so these voices, they come all the way through the external auditory meatus and they hit this tympanic membrane, and once they hit this tympanic membrane will vibrate. Attached to the tympanic membrane you have got malleus, so malleus also will vibrate. Attached to the malleus, incus is there, incus will vibrate. And then attached to the incus you have got stapes, so stapes will also vibrate. And once stapes will vibrate, these vibrations are transmitted to the inner ear. So this is your inner ear, right? So they are transmitted to the inner ear. Now I have drawn the picture of the inner ear, and let us see what is happening over here. Now here, if you very carefully look, this bone is called as a stapes, okay? And this particular window which you can see over here, this window is called as a oval window. This is called as your oval window. Now this inner ear, here it is having three important compartments. What are these three important compartments? The upper one is called as scala vestibuli. Okay. Next, this is also called as your scala vestibuli. After scala vestibuli, this one over here is called as scala tympani. So what are the things you have got? You have got one is called as scala vestibuli on both the sides, and in the center over here you have got scala tympani. Now what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that whenever the stapes plate will vibrate the oval window, within the scala vestibuli, first of all let me draw this with the blue, okay? So you should understand that within this scala vestibuli you see fluid here, right? The fluid that is located within the scala vestibuli is called as perilymph. Next, the fluid with a little more lighter color, the fluid that is located within the scala tympani is called as endolymph. Okay, one is called as perilymph and the other one is called as your endolymph. So this is your endolymph, perilymph and endolymph. So the fluid that is located over here is called as your perilymph, and this is called as endolymph. Okay. So when the stapes will vibrate and it will hit the oval window, obviously the fluid inside also will vibrate. You see, there are some vibrations that are present within the perilymph, right? So the fluid inside will vibrate, scala vestibuli will vibrate, and not only that, these vibrations are also propagated to your endolymph, and even your endolymph is also vibrating, right? So I am just drawing the picture of endolymph over here and I will show you the structures over here. Now this particular part over here is your endolymph, okay, and this is your scala. What is this? Scala tympani, right guys? So this part over here is called as your scala vestibuli. This is called as scala vestibuli. Next, down here this part is called as scala media. This is called as scala media, and the lower part is called as scala tympani. Scala tympani. So how many parts we have got? We have got scala vestibuli, we have got scala media and scala tympani. You also know that there is fluid within this scala vestibuli, right? The fluid which is present in scala vestibuli is continuous with the fluid which is present in scala tympani. So this particular fluid which you can see over here is called as perilymph. So this fluid over here is called as perilymph. Okay. Next, you even have got fluid over here, where fluid in the scala media. So the fluid which you can see in the scala media, this is called as endolymph. Okay, the fluid in the scala media is called as your endolymph. So there are two important things. One is called as perilymph, another one is called as endolymph. Okay. Now what is happening is that whenever the stapes plate will vibrate, that will in turn vibrate your oval window. When it will vibrate your oval window, the fluid inside the scala vestibuli, that is a perilymph, also will vibrate like this. Okay. Now as the perilymph is vibrating like this, even these waves even pass on to the endolymph, and even endolymph also starts vibrating. So what I have done is that I have just drawn the picture of scala media. You see, this is scala media. Scala media, and within the scala media, in the center over here, this part is your endolymph. Whatever I am drawing here is your endolymph. Okay. Now look here, what is happening? What is happening is that, first of all, let us learn what are the names, what are these parts, right? So within this scala media over here, you see these pink color cells. These pink color cells together form the basement membrane. They form the basement membrane. Now after basement membrane, you see another group of cells. These cells are called as the inner hair cells. These are called as the inner hair cells. Okay. Above these inner hair cells, you see some cilia. These are called as a stereocilia. Stereocilia. Next, this red color membrane you see, this is called as a tectorial membrane. This is called as a tectorial membrane. So what are the structures you have got? You have got something called as a basement membrane, next inner hair cells, next stereocilia and tectorial membrane, right? Now what is happening over here? What is happening over here is that whenever the vibrations along with the fluid, they hit the basement membrane, what is happening? The vibrations, first of all, the vibrations, they hit the basement membrane. From this basement membrane, the vibrations are transferred to your inner hair cells. Inner hair cells. From the inner hair cells, the vibrations are transferred to stereocilia. And from the stereocilia, the vibrations are transferred to the tectorial membrane. Okay. So what are these vibrations called? These vibrations that are generated as the fluid is moving, right? So these vibrations are called as mechanical vibrations. So once these mechanical vibrations hit the tectorial membrane will convert the mechanical vibrations into electrical impulses. Okay, it will convert mechanical vibrations into electrical impulses. What tectorial membrane will do? It will convert the mechanical vibrations into your electrical impulses. So once it will connect the mechanical vibrations into electrical impulses, this is what will happen. Just look here now. Now, important thing you need to know is that once it will convert, usually from the base of these cells, what are these cells called as? Inner hair cells. From the base of these inner hair cells, you see nerve fibers that are emerging all the way like this. You see here also nerve fibers that are emerging. So all these nerve fibers together, they enter into a specific ganglion. This ganglion is called as spiral ganglia. What is this? This is called as spiral ganglia. Okay. Now the neurons, this spiral ganglia will relay on a specific group of neurons, specific group of cells. So from this nucleus, you see fibers that are going out. These fibers together, they comprise a nerve called as cochlear nerve. Cochlear nerve. So all these fibers from the basal cells, they enter into the spiral ganglia and they rely on a nucleus, right? This nucleus over here is called as your cochlear nucleus, and from the cochlear nucleus you see the cochlear nerve coming out. And this cochlear nerve will enter into a tunnel-like opening. This tunnel-like opening is nothing but called as your internal acoustic meatus. Internal acoustic meatus. Internal acoustic meatus. So what I have done is that I have drawn the internal acoustic meatus over here, and this part over here is your midbrain, and this is your pons, and this one over here is your medulla oblongata. Now the junction between the pons and medulla oblongata is called as pontomedullary junction, and this structure over here is called as your internal acoustic meatus. Now let us see what are the important structures over here. First important thing, within the medulla oblongata, here you have got two nuclei, right? Here also you have got two nuclei. So what are these nuclei? What are these nuclei are? These nuclei together you call it as ventral cochlear nuclei. These are called as ventral cochlear nucleus. So these are called as ventral cochlear nucleus. Okay, so when I tell ventral cochlear nucleus, there should also be dorsal cochlear nucleus, right? So exactly above that we have got dorsal cochlear nucleus. So here this is dorsal cochlear nucleus. So what is this? This is your dorsal cochlear nucleus. Now within the ventral cochlear nuclei, again there are two important nuclei. What are these two important nuclei? One is called as AVCN. What is AVCN? Anterior ventral cochlear nucleus. Another one is called as PVCN. PVCN in the sense posterior ventral cochlear nucleus. So anterior ventral cochlear nucleus. Another one is your posterior ventral cochlear nucleus. Anterior ventral cochlear and posterior ventral cochlear nucleus. And this is called as a dorsal cochlear nucleus. Okay. Just above and medial to this dorsal cochlear nucleus, you have got one more nucleus over here. You see another nucleus. Superiorly and medially, here you have got one more nucleus over here. Right, this nucleus that is located superiorly and medially to the dorsal cochlear nucleus, this nucleus over here is called as superior olivary nucleus. This is called as superior olivary nucleus. Superior olivary nucleus. And just above this superior olivary nucleus, you have exactly in the pontomedullary junction, you have got one more nucleus. This is called as a nucleus of lateral lemniscus. Okay, this is called nucleus of lateral lemniscus. Nucleus of lateral lemniscus. So what are the different nuclei? We have got ventral cochlear nuclei. There are two, anterior ventral cochlear nucleus and posterior ventral cochlear nucleus. Next, dorsal cochlear nuclei, superior olivary nucleus, nucleus of the lateral lemniscus. Next, when you enter into the pons, within the pons here, you have got two more nuclei. So these two nuclei which are located in the pons, these are called as inferior colliculus. Inferior colliculus. You know, we have got superior and inferior colliculus. Superior colliculus is responsible for the vision and inferior colliculus is responsible for the hearing. So we are discussing about the cochlear now, so there will be inferior colliculus. When you enter into the midbrain, within the midbrain, you have got two more nuclei. These two nuclei over here are called as medial geniculate nucleus. Right. Now let us discuss the fibers which are coming out. First important thing, from the internal acoustic meatus, what is this fiber? This is your cochlear nerve which I told you, right? So look here, the cochlear nerve is passing through the internal acoustic meatus, right? And it is coming out of the internal acoustic meatus. And this cochlear nerve will activate two nuclei. One is it is activating your ventral cochlear nucleus, and next it is also activating your dorsal cochlear nucleus. Okay, so ventral cochlear nucleus and dorsal cochlear nucleus, both of them are activated. Now, if ventral cochlear nucleus is activated, what is happening? From the ventral cochlear nucleus, we have got anterior ventral and posterior ventral. Now, this is your anterior ventral. From this anterior ventral nuclei, the fibers run and they activate your superior olivary nucleus. Okay, they activate your superior olivary nucleus. So, here also the fibers run and they activate your superior olivary nucleus. Now, these fibers which are running onto the opposite side are contralateral fibers. So, 50% of the fibers they run to the opposite side and they activate your superior olivary nucleus. But 50% of the fibers they go ipsilaterally and activate your superior olivary nucleus like this. You see, there are fibers crossing, there are fibers passing onto the same side. That is the reason why even if you can't able to hear through the right ear, the left ear works. Okay, so this is how the process taking place, right? Next important thing, this cochlear nerve, this green color nerve over here is your cochlear nerve. So what was the first thing that has happened? Cochlear nerve activated your ventral cochlear nucleus. Once ventral cochlear nucleus is activated, both the nuclei, anterior ventral cochlear nuclei, posterior ventral cochlear nuclei are activated. When anterior ventral cochlear nuclei are activated, right, the fibers they run up in this way and they activate the next nucleus, that is superior olivary nucleus. Here also the fibers they run up and activate your superior olivary nucleus. 50% of the fibers they do not go contralaterally, rather they are on the same side and activate this superior olivary nucleus. So the story of anterior ventral cochlear nucleus is done. Now when it comes to posterior ventral cochlear nucleus, but before I discuss posterior ventral cochlear nucleus, you should know that what is this tract called? I mean, what are these fibers called, which are going and activating superior olivary contralaterally and ipsilaterally? So these fibers I am naming them as A. I am naming these fibers as A, and A here stands for ventral acoustic striae. These fibers are called as ventral acoustic striae. So A stands for ventral acoustic striae. Okay. Now next group of fibers. Next group of fibers are, let me draw with another color over here. Now next group of fibers start from the posterior ventral, what is this? Posterior ventral cochlear nucleus. Now what these fibers basically do? Now fibers from the posterior ventral cochlear nucleus, they run all the way up and they activate your nucleus of lateral lemniscus. Here also they are running all the way up and they activate your nucleus of your lateral lemniscus. So this is the way how they are running up contralaterally, right? They are running up contralaterally and activating your nucleus of lateral lemniscus. Same like the previous fibers, there are contralateral projections, there are ipsilateral projections. So here also, these fibers, they take a back turn and ipsilaterally supply here. They take a back turn and ipsilateral supply here. So can I tell these fibers are also similar to the ventral acoustic striae? So these fibers are called as intermediate acoustic striae. One is called ventral acoustic striae and B fibers are intermediate acoustic striae. Intermediate acoustic striae. Right. Now look here, let us start the story from the beginning. So we discussed that cochlear nerve, right, is giving two branches. One branch completely activates this nucleus. What is this? Ventral cochlear nucleus. So it got the ventral cochlear nucleus activated. Fibers came from AVC and C. From AVC and fibers are going to opposite to the same side. On the other side also to the opposite to the same side. AVCN is done. Right? We call those fibers as ventral acoustic striae. Next, from PVCN, the fibers are going and activating your nucleus of lateral lemniscus. Here also going and activating your nucleus of lateral lemniscus. And these fibers on the same side also they are activating, here also on the same side. These are called what? Intermediate striae. Now look at the next fiber. The next fiber of this cochlear nerve is also activating this red color nucleus called as dorsal cochlear nucleus. So dorsal cochlear nucleus also should give some branches. Let us see what branches does it give. This dorsal cochlear nucleus, directly it goes and activates your nucleus of lateral lemniscus, right? 50% fibers go like that. 50% directly go and activate the nucleus of lateral lemniscus on the same side. So here also it is going opposite, right, and 50% go and attach to the same side. Now these red color striae are called as C, and C stands for, one is ventral, another one is intermediate. Now I am telling it is dorsal. Dorsal acoustic striae. So how many acoustic striae we have got? We have got ventral acoustic striae, we have got dorsal acoustic striae, we have got intermediate acoustic striae, right? We have got intermediate acoustic striae. Now what I am telling you is that this inferior colliculus, you see, now from the inferior colliculus, the fibers, they basically run up all the way to the medial geniculate nucleus, right? So these fibers together, you call them as inferior brachium. These fibers together you call them as inferior brachium. Next important thing is that from the inferior colliculus, you also see bundle of fibers that are going down. I cannot draw it right now because I don't want to make this picture, it is already messy. So bundle of fibers are going down, you see. Bundle of fibers are going down. Where are they going down? They go down till medulla oblongata, and from there they go down till the spinal cord. So this part is called as the tectum, and down here till the spinal cord is called as the spinal cord. So these fibers are called as tectospinal tract. So this tract over here is called as your tectospinal tract. Okay. Now what is the ultimate nucleus over here? The ultimate nucleus is this one. What is this? This is called as the nucleus of lateral lemniscus. You see, to the nucleus of lateral lemniscus, how many fibers are attaching? Just look here. See, fiber number 1, fiber number 2, fiber number 3, fiber number 4. So many fibers are attaching here, right? Now from this nucleus of lateral lemniscus, you see a lots of fibers that are going up like this, and where these fibers are finally relaying? These fibers are finally relaying on where? Your inferior colliculus. Okay. So these group of fibers over here are nothing but called as your lateral lemniscus. So lateral lemniscus is activating what? Inferior colliculus, and inferior colliculus is activating what? Your medial geniculate nucleus. Now from this medial geniculate nucleus, the fibers, they go up in the form of corona radiata in this way, right? And finally they are innervating a particular cortex. You know what is this cortex it is innervating? It is innervating the cortex that is responsible for your hearing. So what are those areas? Wernicke's area, which is associated with the Wernicke's aphasia, and Broca's area. So basically Wernicke's and Broca's area are your speech areas which are located in the frontal region. Not only that, even the most important thing is superior temporal gyrus. Now superior temporal gyrus is responsible for hearing. Then these two are responsible for the speech. One is called speech production, another one is called as speech articulation, right? Only when you hear you can speak, right? So that is why these two areas are working together. So these are all the important things which you need to know regarding the cochlear nerve, guys. So we discussed in the cochlear nerve that when the stapes will vibrate, these vibrations will enter into your perilymph, right? From the perilymph they enter into the endolymph. And within the endolymph, these cells are called as, one is called as the basement membrane. First basement membrane will be vibrated, that will in turn vibrate the inner hair cells, next stereocilia, next tectorial membrane, and that will cause mechanical vibrations conversion into the electrical impulses, right? So this is something very important regarding the cochlear nerve which we have discussed. So thank you so much for watching my video. Goodbye.